you guys. So today's video was initially going to be my 14-week pregnancy update. However, I posted a poll on my Instagram and I let my Instagram followers decide if I should make my pregnancy update or my postpartum depression and anxiety story, and majority of the people chose my postpartum depression and anxiety story, so that's what today's video will be about. It's been about 3 years since I suffered from my postpartum depression and about 2 years since I began having postpartum anxiety, so I just want to put my story out there, and maybe there are other women or young girls who can relate. So let's get started. Also, I want to mention that I have no notes for the making of this video. I want it to be how I feel, how I remember it. I just want it to be my story, the real thing. I don't want it to be scripted or anything like that. If you watch my channel, you know that I have 4 boys and I am currently pregnant with baby number 5, our little girl. And after my first son, who was born in 2014, I felt amazing. I didn't have any type of depression, no type of anxiety, nothing like that. I honestly felt so amazing. My healing from giving birth was fast and honestly the best postpartum experience I've had, even though I was 17. My second son was born in 2015, and that's when I suffered from my postpartum depression. I don't really know how it started or when it started. I want to say it started directly after he was born. Before my son was born, my husband and I, high school sweethearts, we got married. I was 9 months pregnant when we got married. So my relationship was in a really, really good place. My husband started a new job, an amazing job, and we got our own apartment. But after my second son was born, I was really emotional and nervous about my son not being an only child anymore. I was nervous about splitting my time between 2 babies, and honestly it was really easy. They bonded really amazing. About 6 to 7 weeks after I had my son, I got a job, and I remembered like dyeing my hair and just trying to force myself to feel good after I gave birth. And when I was doing these things, dyeing my hair, getting myself ready every day, having to force myself just to really be happy, I wasn't thinking about postpartum depression. I just kind of felt like it was normal for me. Now looking back at it, I realize I wasn't happy and I was trying to force myself to be. I was trying really hard to not be depressed, and at the time I didn't know I was depressed. So I got a job at Domino's, and I worked there for only about a week, and I think I kind of made the excuse that they didn't want to give me hours just so I didn't have to be there. I didn't have to associate with anybody. I could just stay home, and that's kind of what I did. I left Domino's and I just stayed home. I could not lose the baby weight at all. It's not like I really tried. I just expected it to be as it was with my first son. The weight just dropped off like that. I felt amazing and energetic, and I was basically myself before I got pregnant. That's who I was after my first pregnancy, and I wanted that for my second pregnancy. I didn't expect to have to work for it at all, and so not only was I not losing the baby weight that I had, I was putting on more weight and having the insecurity of the weight, and I started to go through some relationship problems. Just sorry, I don't want to get too emotional during this because I don't know, it's hard to think about it, because it's like you relive it, you replay it through your mind, and it's not easy. I would constantly find my husband messaging other women, sending them pictures, and he worked really long hours and days, and I just felt like he didn't really pay enough attention to me and how I felt, what I was going through, even though I never talked about it. When I was 8 months postpartum with my second son, so 2015, November of 2015, I actually found out that I was pregnant again, and this baby was kind of planned. It's not really the best thinking, and I was still a teenager. I was only 18 years old. I found out I was pregnant, and we had a miscarriage. I can't remember what it was called. I think it was called blighted ovum or something like that, just where the sac grows but the baby doesn't. So I went through a miscarriage in December, and that's really when I realized I was suffering from postpartum depression. I just was so down every single day. I would find myself sitting on the floor in a dark room crying, and I was basically begging my husband to help me or to just talk to me about it, to console me, and I don't think that he knew how. So we ended up getting into a really, really big fight, and I basically told him that I wanted to kill myself, and his response was along the lines of like I was over exaggerating, or he didn't care, or I was being a baby, a crybaby, and that just kind of pushed me over the edge. So I decided to leave my relationship, I guess you could say, and I didn't really have anywhere else to go, so I was just in between friends' houses or families' houses and back home. I was just really confused. Once I had left, I think my husband really processed that it was real and I wasn't faking, and it's really how I felt and what I was going through. And by that time, I just had this mindset of I didn't care. I didn't care about anything except for my children. And during this time, it was really hard for me. My head was not in the right space. I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know how to act. I just cut the thought completely out of my mind of depression, and I wanted to heal from it. I wanted it to go away. So during this time, my husband and I were apart. I was trying to figure things out. I was trying to understand what was going on with me. A lot of things happened that I'm not proud of, and I wish that I could take back. But then again, I was so young, and I had no idea what was going on with me. And I think this is what some people don't understand, is you could be suffering from postpartum depression and not even know it. And I didn't know it. I just knew there was something wrong with me, and I wanted it to go away, and nobody understood. Nobody got it. And so after a few weeks had passed and I had made some poor decisions, I kind of just gave up trying to fight it off, and I went back to the life that I had always knew with my husband and my kids, and I just basically forgot about the entire thing. I continued living life as normal, and deep down inside, I was still hurt. I still didn't know what was going on with me, but I put on an act of being okay for not only my kids, but my husband, my family, my friends, and everybody kind of thought that I was okay again, that things were normal, and it's really not how it was. I continued living my life every single day, sad, depressed, hurt, and I had to hide it from everybody. I guess I have this thing where when I'm hurt or sad, I want a baby. And I think it has to do with love, unconditional love. There's going to be another human in the world who will love me when nobody else does. And I know it's not right, but that's kind of how my life has gone. I don't want to say I don't have parents, because I do have a living mother and I do have a living father, but I've never had like a mom and dad. I don't have a mom who I can talk to. I don't really have a mother figure who I can just talk to about anything. And my dad, I love him so much, but we have never been close. He's always put like other women before me. And that's kind of, I think, where my issues stem from with relationships and not feeling loved or good enough. And so when my husband and I got back together and I was pretending everything was okay, we decided to try for another baby. It wasn't smart, but it happened, and we got pregnant. I still, throughout my entire pregnancy, continued to suffer from the postpartum depression that I had had since my second child. So all of 2015 and all of 2016, I suffered from postpartum depression. And I went through a lot of stress and relationship issues during my third pregnancy, and with hiding my postpartum depression, I didn't gain a lot of weight with my third pregnancy at all. And it's because I wasn't eating, because I was stressed about hiding how I really felt and what I was going through at home. And after my third son was born, my husband actually left me. So my son was 1 month old when my husband left, and he left me for another woman. And after he left me, I don't think that I continued to have the postpartum depression, but I most definitely did go through depression by itself. I was so lost and down and depressed, and it felt like I didn't know who I was anymore without my husband, who's all I'd known, and my family together, and I was alone. I had nothing. I went from stay-at-home mom to not knowing who I was. I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. And this is kind of where the anxiety part came in. The postpartum anxiety started. So shortly after my husband left me, he filed for divorce. So not only was I heartbroken, I was lost, didn't know who I was, and I had this fear that somehow, because my husband left me and I had nothing but my 3 children, that I wasn't a good enough mom, and even though I knew that I was a good mom and I could take care of them no matter what, I just felt like something was going to happen, that they were going to get taken away, they were going to get hurt, and I was so scared. We had this nasty divorce, and we didn't completely get divorced, but we made it to basically the end of the process, and it was horrific. Every day, waking up, it was something new. It's like my body never slept. Like, my body would sleep, but my mind was always going. And I was always scared and anxious about something. There was never a moment where I wasn't anxious. And I didn't even know postpartum anxiety existed until I went through it. I was anxious something was going to happen to my kids. I was anxious about not being a good enough mom. I was anxious about talking to the wrong person, or anxious that something was going to happen to me. I was anxious about being alone. The biggest thing that happened to me with having postpartum anxiety was not being able to drive. And before this, I was able to drive, no problem, no fears, nothing. And once I developed postpartum anxiety, driving became my biggest fear, gave me the most anxiety. I was always terrified that I would get into a crash or something would happen. The car would like break and I wouldn't be able to handle it. I wouldn't know what to do. It just scared me so much. And still to this day, I suffer from that. Like, that has completely traumatized me. I can drive, but I have so much anxiety over it. I would just rather walk, take public transportation, have somebody else drive me, anything but drive. And I know it's not realistic, but it's the truth. Going through postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety, even though I had basically an army of people standing behind me, trying to support me and be there for me, I still felt alone. I felt like nobody understood what I was going through, what was racing through my mind constantly. And I think that's the scariest part, just going through something so scary and feeling like you're all alone. It's not easy, especially if you don't realize that you have these problems or that they're even a thing. You can just are like probably wondering, you are probably just wondering, what the hell is wrong with me? What is happening to my mind? What is happening to my body? What is going on? And you're also probably thinking, why is nobody helping me? Why can't anybody see what I'm going through? Are people really not paying that much attention to me? And that only makes it worse. I couldn't really tell you how to know you have postpartum depression and that you need to get help before it goes too far, because I never figured that out. I kind of just dealt with it until it went away. Same thing with postpartum anxiety. I dealt with it until it went away, and I still don't even think it went away. I still have so much anxiety over so many things, and the only thing I can really tell you is that if you have a strong support system and you have people who you're really close to and who genuinely honestly care about you, they will notice. They'll notice something's wrong, and they will more than likely bring it to your attention. I don't have that. I don't have anybody who's close to me. I don't really have anybody who, I mean, I have people who care about me, but not enough to notice something like that and to bring it to my attention. So it's been 3 years since postpartum depression, 2 years since postpartum anxiety, so I can't really tell you in complete detail how I would want to my experience, because some parts are really hard to remember. Some parts I don't want to remember, so I've kind of just erased them from my mind. But I just know it was the lowest point of my life, and it has affected me as a person 100%. And I will never be the same person I was before I suffered from postpartum depression or postpartum anxiety. I will never go back to that girl or that woman or that person. It will just never happen. So you learn and you live, and hopefully if you do suffer from postpartum depression or anxiety, you are able to get the help that you need and the help that you honestly deserve. And just know that you're not alone. There are probably so many other women in the world that you don't even know about. You could have the closest friend or family member suffering from postpartum depression or anxiety, and you might not even know it. So just be aware of not only your own body and emotions, but everybody around you, everybody you encounter. It's suffering from these things has honestly made me such a more sympathetic person. I'm a lot nicer than I ever was as a teenager or before I had these things. And I always wonder when somebody is rude to me or just being really rude or kind of having a bad day, I wonder what they're going through. That's always the first thing that comes to my mind is, what is this person going through? What is happening in their life? And that's really how these things have affected me as a person. And it's not easy to live with it because it is traumatizing. But I'm not going to let it define me or control my life. And I'm hoping and praying after this baby that I don't develop postpartum depression, and I hope that my anxiety doesn't get worse. But if it does, and if I do believe that I will be able to recognize and get the help that I do need. I'm really sorry if this video isn't what you were expecting when you clicked on it, but this is just really how I feel, how I felt, and I just want to put it out there. I want to get it out there and let people know that they're not alone. I've been there, and anybody who has suffered from this or has any questions about it, message me, email me, let me know in the comments. Like, I'm always an open ear. I'm always here, no matter if we have ever had issues, or you think I hate you, or you think we're not friends. I'm always here, and I honestly feel like I can give better advice than I can take. That's always been kind of how I am. So if you need somebody to talk to about it, I'm here, and I will not judge. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was kind of not the best video. There could have been more detail, but honestly, like I said, some things you just don't want to remember, some things you force yourself not to remember, but I feel like it's all kind of in the same, like from one person to another, it's the same. You are basically just depressed. You're down. You feel alone. Nobody understands. And when you're going through that, the best thing that you can have is somebody to talk to about it, somebody who's been through it. And that's why I'm putting this video out there. And I'm sorry if you see little kittens running around all through the background. Our cat just had kittens, well, 4 weeks ago, but they're running wild, and they're honestly too cute to stay out of the video. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and make sure your bell notification is turned on so you don't miss any future uploads. I will see you guys in my next video, which will hopefully be my 14-week pregnancy update, and I will have some very exciting news for you guys. So I'll see you in my next one. Bye.